Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. There is something profoundly attractive about a man who knows where he ends and the world begins. A man who walks through life not to be liked, but to be understood, to be respected, and most importantly, to be true to himself. In a time where social media rewards speed over sincerity and where endless swipes have replaced sincere connection, it's easy to believe that being endlessly available is a virtue, that the more you give, the more you'll be loved. But that's the lie, because the truth, the one no one tells you, is this: a woman admires you not when you abandon your self-worth, but when you protect it. A woman doesn't fall for the man who says yes to everything. She falls for the man who says no with grace, with strength, with dignity. She respects the man who, even in love, does not lose himself, because boundaries, when set with calm clarity, become more attractive than charm, more powerful than persuasion. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Do not waste what remains of your life in speculating about others, unless with a view to some mutual benefit. Your energy is sacred, your time is limited, and your soul is not a currency to be spent on fleeting affection." In today's world, many men have been trained to confuse self-sacrifice with emotional maturity, to believe that love must always hurt and that boundaries are signs of distance, when in fact, they are signs of emotional depth. Boundaries do not mean shutting people out. They mean inviting the right people in, slowly, wisely, intentionally. So what makes a woman admire a man? Not his money, not his charm, not even his looks. She admires his restraint, his calm, his ability to walk away when respect is missing. She admires his quiet refusal to chase what is not reciprocated, his strength to uphold a standard, not out of ego, but out of deep-rooted self-respect. Right now, we are living in an emotional economy where attention is cheap, but presence is rare. So when a man shows up in his full masculine integrity, when he doesn't overshare, doesn't over-pursue, doesn't over-explain, she doesn't just notice, she wonders, she watches, and slowly she begins to admire. Today, we're not just talking about boundaries. We are uncovering 5 rare, silent forces that shift the way she sees you, from someone who's nice to someone who's respected, valued, and remembered. This video is for the man who's been too generous with his time, too kind with his energy, and too quiet about his own needs. This is your moment to reset, to rise, to reclaim your place in the relationship, not as someone who waits to be chosen, but as someone who chooses himself first. Because when you begin to set these boundaries, not with anger, but with unwavering calm, something shifts, not just in her, but in you. So, if you've ever wondered why being the good guy still led to disappointment, if you've ever felt unseen, unappreciated, or emotionally exhausted, this is for you. Today, we're unlocking 6 secret boundaries that make a woman admire you more deeply than words ever could. Let's go start. Number 1, the boundary of emotional availability without overexposure. A man who is emotionally available but not emotionally exposed is rare in today's world. And it is this rarity that draws deep admiration from a woman, because a woman is not moved by chaos masquerading as passion. She is moved by the quiet presence of a man who feels deeply but does not bleed emotionally in every direction. This boundary is about balance, being open without becoming unguarded, being warm without becoming vulnerable to manipulation. Let's be clear, this is not about playing games or being emotionally distant. It's about protecting your emotional center, the part of you that holds your dreams, your wounds, your values, and not allowing that center to be handed over too quickly, too easily, or to someone who hasn't earned access to it. We live in a culture that often encourages emotional oversharing in the name of vulnerability. Instagram captions, late-night text threads, constant voice notes, all in the hope of connection. But what's often missed is that real connection isn't built on constant exposure. It's built on earned intimacy. You do not owe the rawest parts of your soul to anyone who hasn't proven they will hold it gently. When a woman meets a man who shares selectively, who reveals his depths in time, not out of fear, but out of intention, she senses something powerful. She sees a man with emotional restraint, and it makes her lean in. She starts to admire not only his stories, but the silence between them, because that silence holds mystery, it holds discipline, and it holds self-respect. This boundary also protects you from the emotional traps that often occur early in dating. When you give too much of your emotional world too soon, you risk creating a one-sided dynamic where she becomes the listener, the savior, or even the evaluator of your worth. And the moment that happens, admiration dissolves, respect becomes pity, connection becomes imbalance. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Be like the cliff against which the waves continually break, but it stands firm and tames the fury of the water around it." This is the energy of emotional sovereignty. You feel, but you are not shaken. You share, but you are not spilling. You love, but you are not lost in her reaction. So how does this look in real life? It looks like pausing before answering emotionally charged questions. It looks like taking time before responding to that late-night text that pokes at your insecurity. It looks like not venting every frustration you have with life to someone who hasn't proven they can hold that space. It looks like owning your story without surrendering your emotional leadership in the process. Women admire men who have emotional maturity, not because they are stoic in the cold sense, but because they are anchored. They don't get swept away by every tide. They know when to open the door, and they know when to close it to protect their inner world. That boundary creates safety, and safety, contrary to what many believe, doesn't make you less attractive. It makes you unforgettable. So let her wonder. Let her work to understand the depths behind your calm. Let her be drawn into your world, not because you've handed it all over, but because you've made her feel honored to be invited into it. One piece at a time. This is the first boundary, emotional availability, held within the sacred walls of self-control. A man who gives from his soul, but never empties it. A man who reveals his depth like a poem, not a performance. Set this boundary, and she will not only respect you, she will admire the gravity of your presence. Number 2, the boundary of self-priority. You are not her emotional sponge. There's a silent mistake many good men make in the early stages of attraction. They become too emotionally available for her storms while ignoring the erosion of their own calm. In the name of love, empathy, or masculine support, they absorb her moods, her chaos, her silence, and lose their center in the process. But a woman doesn't truly admire the man who bends with her emotional tides. She admires the man who holds his ground, gently but firmly, and reminds her that his life does not orbit around her unpredictability. This is the boundary of self-priority, and it is not selfish. It is sacred. You are not an emotional sponge. You are not a therapist in disguise. You are not her outlet for rage, boredom, jealousy, or emotional confusion. And the moment you position yourself as the fixer, the rescuer, or the one-man emotional support line, you lose something far greater than her approval. You lose her admiration. Admiration is born from witnessing strength, and strength is not just physical, it is emotional, psychological, energetic. A man who protects his peace commands more gravity than the man who sacrifices it in the name of love. There's a line in Stoic philosophy that echoes here. Epictetus said, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." That means you don't need to convince her that you are worthy. You show her through your self-discipline, your non-reactivity, your refusal to be dragged into every emotional wildfire she lights, even unconsciously. Let's take a real-life scenario. She's upset, not just a little, but simmering, overwhelmed, emotionally flammable. She starts to pick fights. She pulls away. She sends confusing signals. 1 minute warm, the next minute ice. And you respond with calm. You don't chase, you don't over-explain, you don't turn into her therapist or her emotional investigator. Instead, you say something simple, grounded, powerful. I care about you, but I won't participate in this kind of emotional spiral. When you're ready to talk calmly, I'm here. That sentence does something profound. It draws a line that tells her, I see you, but I won't lose myself for you. And that's when admiration is born, because she realizes you're not needy, you're not reactive, you're not built on her approval. You are centered, and that is magnetic. In today's world, where many men are starving for affection and chasing emotional crumbs, the man who stands still, who doesn't need to constantly please to feel loved, becomes unforgettable. She may not say it out loud, she may even test you again, but inside, she begins to respect you because you've shown her something rare, a man who honors her emotions without being ruled by them. There's a psychological truth here too. When someone feels they can spill their pain into you without consequence, admiration fades. It's not about cruelty, it's about containment. Emotional containment is power, and when you enforce it kindly, she feels the pull of your grounded masculinity. It feels safe, it feels strong, and most of all, it feels rare. So, draw the line, not with arrogance, but with quiet conviction. Let her know your peace is your responsibility, and you won't sacrifice it for anyone, no matter how beautiful the connection may be. This boundary, the refusal to be her emotional sponge, doesn't push her away. It makes her see you clearly, maybe for the first time, not as a man who chases her love, but as a man who already knows his own value. Number 3, the boundary of time. You do not abandon your mission for her mood. There is something eternally attractive and deeply respected about a man who guards his time like a sacred flame, a man who doesn't drop everything when she calls, a man who loves, who listens, who cares, but who never forgets that he was a man with a mission before he was a man with a woman. In today's world, where attention is scattered and priorities are blurred by emotional instant gratification, a man who holds space for his purpose, no matter how much he desires her, stands apart, and she knows it. Time is not just a calendar. Time is energy, intention, legacy. And when you begin to stretch your time thin to over-accommodate a woman's needs, especially if she hasn't yet earned that level of access to your schedule, you send a silent message. My mission comes second, your moods come first, and that message quietly erodes the respect she has for you. A woman might test your time boundary, not maliciously, but emotionally. She may want you to skip the gym for a spontaneous hangout. She may call you in the middle of your creative workday just to vent. She may ask for more of your presence than you're ready to give. And when you say no, she might get upset. But it's in how you hold the line that admiration is built. Let's say she says, "Why can't you just see me tonight?" And you answer, not with guilt or apology, but with clarity and kindness. I've carved out this time to work on something important to me. I care about you, but I won't abandon my path for the temporary comfort of pleasing someone else. That statement is powerful not because it's harsh, but because it's honest. And truth has weight. It may sting for a moment, but what lingers is respect. A man who protects his time shows that he's not chasing a woman for meaning. He's already in the process of becoming. And if she is to be part of his life, she must come alongside the journey, not derail it. In Stoicism, Marcus Aurelius reminds us, it is not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live. Living for the Stoic man is not about sacrificing every moment for fleeting emotional highs. It's about staying rooted in your deeper aim. If your time is always available, your energy loses its depth. If you're always accessible, you become easy to overlook. And modern women, especially high-value, emotionally intelligent women do not want men who are endlessly available. They want men who are anchored in purpose, whose time is shaped by vision, not just affection. So, make her wait if necessary, not as a punishment, but as a sign of self-respect. Prioritize your art, your craft, your healing, your dreams. And when you give her time, let it be with full presence, not as a compromise, but as a conscious choice. When you do this, she may push back at first, but over time, she will admire you not for how much of yourself you gave, but for how much of yourself you never lost. This boundary is not about rejection, it's about revelation. It shows her who you are, a man with vision, a man with structure, a man whose hours are carved in purpose, not pulled by mood, and that is the kind of man she cannot help but admire. Number 4, the boundary of emotional discipline. You don't beg to be understood. One of the most overlooked boundaries in modern relationships is emotional restraint, not repression, restraint. The quiet art of not pouring your entire emotional world into someone just to prove your sincerity. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. In the eyes of a woman, the man who demands to be constantly understood often begins to feel emotionally weak, not because he feels, but because he becomes ruled by those feelings. Admiration doesn't bloom in the soil of over-explanation. It grows in the silence of a man who knows himself, even when she doesn't fully get him yet. There's a temptation, especially in emotionally confusing moments, to explain every word, every motive, every reaction. You want her to see your heart. You want her to validate your pain. You want her to know you didn't mean to upset her, that you're a good man. But here's the problem. When you start needing her to understand you in order to feel secure, you give her a power over your identity she should never have. This is where emotional discipline becomes your quiet revolution. You are allowed to feel deeply. You are allowed to hurt. You are allowed to crave connection. But you are not allowed, not if you want to be respected, to beg for emotional recognition. You speak your truth once, clearly, calmly, and if she cannot or will not receive it, you step back. You don't chase emotional clarity. There's a psychological backbone to this. People, especially in romantic dynamics, tend to respect those who can tolerate emotional distance without unraveling. If you crumble every time she goes cold, if you spiral every time she pulls back, if you emotionally vomit every time you're confused, she may sympathize, but she won't admire. Why? Because admiration is tethered to containment. It's not about being closed, it's about being controlled. Take this example. She misunderstands something you did. She gets cold, distant, maybe even passive-aggressive. Most men rush in, trying to explain every detail. You don't understand what I meant. I would never hurt you. Please just listen. But you take a breath. You say, I didn't mean to cause harm. I said what I meant, and I stand by it. If you're ready to have a calm conversation, I'm here. Then you let it be. You don't send another message. You don't stalk her socials. You don't break your emotional frame just to feel seen. That silence, that restraint, that stillness, it speaks louder than any emotional monologue. In that stillness, she sees a man who values truth over approval, a man who can stand alone in misunderstanding without falling apart, a man who does not trade his self-respect for temporary emotional reassurance. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." This principle applies to emotional conversations too. If your need to explain is rooted in anxiety, not truth, say less. Be still. Let your dignity speak. Because here's the irony. When you stop chasing emotional clarity, she often starts pursuing it. She leans in. She wants to understand. Why? Because now she sees a man she cannot control, a man who doesn't react but responds. And sometimes, not at all. And that is power. So remember, she may love your vulnerability, but she will admire your discipline. Not the kind that hides emotions, but the kind that doesn't let emotions run the show. Hold that line, speak once, and then watch her lean forward. Number 5, the boundary of detachment. You can walk away with grace, not bitterness. There's one boundary that carries more weight than all the others, not because it's loud, but because it's silent, not because it controls, but because it refuses to be controlled. It's the boundary of detachment, the quiet knowing that if a woman cannot honor your values, meet your standards, or respect your path, you will leave, not with resentment, not with a scream, but with calm, grounded grace. And that changes everything. See, modern dating is addicted to power plays, ghosting, breadcrumbing, silent treatments, emotional games disguised as connection, and men, especially sensitive, emotionally invested men, often get trapped in this emotional warfare, thinking that staying, explaining, pleading, or even enduring will somehow win her admiration. But it won't. What a woman admires most isn't your ability to tolerate her worst behavior. It's your ability to lovingly, calmly, and definitively walk away when her behavior violates your peace. She doesn't admire the man who stays no matter what. She admires the man who knows when to stay and when it's time to go. Detachment isn't the absence of emotion. It's the mastery of it. It's the ability to feel deeply for a woman, yet still say, I love you, but I love myself enough to not lose myself here. That sentence echoes in her mind because she's not used to hearing it. Most men either explode or collapse. Few walk away like gentlemen with their dignity intact. And this kind of detachment creates something rare, emotional polarity. She starts to see you not as just a man who loves her, but as a man who lives by principles, a man who can desire her with his full heart and still choose his soul if she can't meet him where he stands. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." If you constantly live in fear of losing her, you paint your soul in not anxiety. But if you hold the power to walk with peace, not pain, you color your soul with sovereignty. A woman might test you. She might pull away. She might play games. She might even try to provoke you to see if you'll abandon your frame. But when you remain grounded, when you don't chase, when you can walk with a soft heart and a strong spine, that's when her admiration begins. Because the man who walks without slamming the door is often the one she wants to return to most. So, draw this final boundary with quiet power. Let her know, you're free to be who you are, and I'm free to choose what I allow in my life. Not everything needs a fight. Some things simply need a door, and the most powerful men know how to walk through it. Number 6, the boundary of vision. She's welcome in your world, but she's not your world. There is a boundary that separates men who are admired from those who are only desired. It's the boundary of vision. The kind of man who inspires a woman to admire him isn't the one who makes her his everything. It's the one who makes something greater his everything and invites her to join. Let's be honest, modern love, fueled by social media, often encourages obsession disguised as romance. Men are told to make her feel like the center of the universe, to worship her every move, to text back in seconds, to mold their lives around hers, and in doing so, they vanish. Their purpose fades, their mission dissolves, and eventually, so does her attraction. Why? Because a woman cannot truly admire a man who orbits around her. She admires the man who orbits around something higher. When you have a vision, a personal mission, a purpose, a path you're walking with integrity, you radiate something rare in today's distracted world: direction. You're not aimless. You're not emotionally dependent. You don't chase validation because you already have something inside you that validates your every move. This is the man who wakes up early to build his body, who invests time in mastering a craft, who has values rooted not in how he feels today, but in what he's becoming tomorrow. And this creates magnetic polarity. She feels it, she respects it, and most of all, she wants to be part of it. But here's the paradox. When a woman realizes she is not the center of your world, she starts trying to earn a place in it. She studies your schedule, she notices your habits, she wonders where your focus lies, and in that wondering, she becomes emotionally invested because you're no longer the man who makes her feel chased. You're the man who gives her something to chase. This doesn't mean you neglect her. It means you never abandon your inner compass. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "A man's worth is no greater than the worth of his ambitions." When your ambition is to simply make her happy, your worth in her eyes slowly erodes because even she doesn't know what will make her happy forever. But when your ambition is tied to something lasting, to self-mastery, to truth, to your unique calling, she sees you as rooted, unshakable, irresistible. Many women crave this energy, even if they resist it at first. They want the man who says, "I care for you deeply, but I care even more about becoming who I was born to be. You're welcome to walk beside me, but I will not lose myself to walk beside you." That sentence echoes in her soul, not because it's harsh, but because it's rare. It reminds her that your life has a gravity of its own, and that if she wants to be close to you, she must rise to meet it. So set this boundary clearly. Your vision is non-negotiable. Your purpose comes first. Your dreams are sacred. She's welcome in your life, but only if she comes with respect for your direction, not an expectation that you'll change course for her comfort. In this, you become not just a man she wants, but a man she admires, quietly, deeply, and forever. Conclusion. Hey friends, if you've made it this far, you already know this wasn't just another video about dating tips or surface-level strategies. This was about something deeper, something quieter, something far rarer in today's noisy, confused world. Self-respect expressed through silent boundaries. The truth is, admiration doesn't come from what you say. It comes from what you don't compromise. Women may be drawn to charm, good looks, or success, but they stay emotionally attached to the man who has standards, the one who knows who he is, the one who doesn't collapse just to keep the connection alive. And the boundaries we explored today, from emotional self-control to the grace of walking away, they aren't rules to play mind games. They're reflections of your inner architecture, your values, your peace, your power. In a world where social media trains women to expect unlimited validation and instant gratification, you become a mystery the moment you stop being so available. The moment you say, "This is what I tolerate, and this I don't." That's not arrogance, that's sovereignty, and that's what makes a woman admire you deeply, even long after you've walked away. If this spoke to your soul, if it gave you something to think about, to grow from, or just made you feel more grounded in your path as a man, I ask you to do 3 simple things. Like this video, share it with a brother who needs it, and subscribe to the channel, because here we don't chase, we reflect, we grow, we rise. Thanks for watching. Until next time, stay grounded, stay noble, and never forget, your boundaries are your crown. Let's go.